You're listening to the Ugly Truth Podcast with George and Christina Markoski, your weekly injection of science, insights, and myth-busting. For awesome info and trending content, go to theuglytruth.blog.
Hello everyone, welcome to the Ugly Truth Podcast, and I'd like to, we've got a really special guest today, the Wonder Woman of dry fasting. Her name is Christine Fontenot, and she's from Austin, Texas. So, hi Christine, welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me, George. I'm really happy to be here today.
Excellent. And look, we recently did a podcast on fasting, and we were talking about intermittent fasting and water fasting, and we touched on dry fasting, and a lot of people were very curious about that. And after seeing your dry fast for 10 days, which I must say, that is amazing. So you certainly are the Wonder Woman of dry fasting. That really motivated me to get back into it, and I recently completed a 3-day dry fast, and that's the best I've done. So how long have you been fasting for?
I've been dry fasting for about 2 years, dry fasting and intermittent fasting, and I do my extended dry fast. I try to do them seasonally, but it had been about a year since I did an extended dry fast. I don't want to overexert my body, but I try to do them as much as seasonally as possible, if you will.
Okay, so what do you mean by seasonally? So, like, how often would that be?
Like once a quarter to do an extended. I had started out with a couple extended dry fasts when I first started last year. And then I did a crazy 30-day, it was an interstellar blend fast, if you will, for 30 days. And then after that, I just kind of stayed away from fasting a little bit. I wanted to really make sure my body was okay on continuing on with fasting, but I always kept up with intermittent fasting after that.
Okay, fantastic. So you do intermittent dry fasting, stellar blend. You do a lot of different types of fasting.
I do. So it's like there's no wrong or right way of fasting. It's all what you feel comes natural to you. What you feel is right for you. A lot of people ask me a lot of different questions, and it ultimately boils down to what you are comfortable with and what comes natural to you.
So what brought your interest into fasting in the first place? Because that's an interesting thing that a lot of people don't know about.
Yeah, because 2 years ago, if anyone told me they went without food or water, I would thought they were on drugs, because it's like, what do you mean you go without water? I mean, like, food, okay, but water? So Gavin McGowan, I met Gavin, and I told him about my illness. I have suffered from fibromyalgia, Meniere's. Meniere's is an infection of the inner ear, and Sjogren's. And I've been suffering from that since 2009, and I was heavily medicated with Topamax, Cymbalta, Zomig, all kinds of different drugs that over a period of time, it was causing my liver to fail and other problems. It was just putting a Band-Aid on something, but it was also causing other problems. My eyes were yellowing. I looked jaundicey. I had yellow skin. My teeth were turning yellow. And even though I'm a naturally happy person, I was really inside really so unhappy and so sad and really in a dark place. And I mentioned it to Gavin, and Gavin talked about dry fasting, and he's this big guru of dry fasting, and I wasn't sure what all that meant. So I looked up on his website at the time, and he talked about this interstellar blends, and he actually gave me a sample of it. And on my worst fibro day, I decided to take these interstellar blends, and it actually helped me get myself out of bed. I mean, like, I actually got out of bed, but because I was so lethargic, and I felt narcoleptic and really beside myself. I actually was fasting. Your body, when you go through certain traumas, you actually naturally fast. So I was already fasted when I started taking these blends, and I started feeling so much better. And then I wanted to know more about fasting. So And I didn't really take just his word on it. I actually did my research on it. And surprisingly, at the time, 2 years ago, there wasn't a lot of information on dry fasting. There's a Dr. Falov, a Russian doctor that he's
No, there's been a lot of research.
yes, and he has great. I mean, like, there's not a lot in the Americas or in America, but in other countries, and you have to have it translated over, and it took a while to get some of the stuff to read on this. But like I said, this was like a couple years ago. So I decided to just like kind of jump right in, and I started a fast, and I learned that you have to practice it. So you have to practice like 18 hours one week and then exceed that your time the following week. And I'll tell you what, I can never hold out for more than 36 hours. I mean, I just could get past that. And then it was one day after, I want to say it was a Halloween party. And it was November 1st. And I said, you know what? I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to put my mind to it. And I fasted for 7 days. That was my first extended dry fast. And
7 days. Wow.
Yeah. And I felt great. And the first fast, I have to tell you, every fast is different. And that first fast, it was just really easy to get into. It was, it was spiritual. It was, things were happening with my body. I was feeling spectacular. And then after I broke my fast, which, by the way, I used the interstellar blends, I actually felt sad inside. I wanted to fast again because it was this natural high that your body produces. I don't know if it's the ketosis that your body is in, but it made you. I felt like on cloud nine, and I had no pain. That was the thing of it. I absolutely had physically no pain whatsoever, and I felt amazing. And after that, I always had a desire to at least fast. So I would fast for just 2 or 3 times a week, like on Tuesdays and Thursdays. I would just do a fast, and it was just for me, it was just maintenance. And then I learned more about how to maintain and.
Is this a dry fast that you do?
Yeah, it was a dry fast. I would just not eat all day Tuesday, and then I would break my fast probably Wednesday evening, and then Thursday I would not eat or drink for all day Thursday, and I probably wouldn't eat until Friday the following day. So it was constant, at least two to three, depending on how I was feeling, and there's that saying, live to eat, but not eat to live. I've heard that before. Yep. So it was just, I'm only eating to live. I'm not living to eat.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's the culture in the Western world has become, live to eat, definitely. So fibromyalgia, that's an autoimmune condition.
Yes.
Correct? That's inflammatory. Mm-hmm. And
it sure is.
So fasting helps a lot of autoimmune inflammatory conditions, and I suppose that sort of thing is happening more and more in our society, in the Western world.
Yes.
And it's a bit of an epidemic, and you hear about it more and more. Like 20 years ago, you hardly heard about anyone having any autoimmune or inflammatory conditions.
I agree with you. There's been, and it's the same thing with gluten. It's not, I really think it's a lot. It has to do with our diets, on the carb intake and the sugar intake. And wheat is not being produced the way it should be. It's not being fermented as long as how it should be fermented. So a lot of people are it's not a food allergy. It's just an intolerance, and people are eating more clean, and you're actually taking away the natural probiotics that your body actually needs to maintain that balance. And I think fasting helps really reset yourself on a cellular level to adapt better. It's ancient practice, and your body is capable of doing it.
Yes, it is an ancient practice, definitely. Now, a lot of people, when they heard that I was fasting, no water, no food, they have said, "What are you doing? You're crazy. No water, no food. That's just, dangerous."
Yes.
And everyone was like, calling me and checking in and saying, "Are you still alive?" And you know what I mean? It was, it's very foreign to have no food, no water for that long, because a lot of people that fast, they'll have a juice fast and, drink, fruit juice and, vegetable juice and things like that, which is not really a fast because your body's still getting calories.
Yes.
And there's been a lot of studies that show that fasting and dry fasting in particular has a real big response on the immune system, resetting the immune system, reduce inflammation, but also it actually resets your gut bacteria and your microbiome. 10 days is quite a long time.
Yes.
And, apparently you can't live without water more than 7 days, so you've done well. So so I'd like to go through your journey of
Sure.
a 10-day fast. And you can just tell us how you prepared for it, what you did on a day-to-day basis, and, how you felt, and, any tips for people that, want to do a fast. And I don't know if anyone wants to do a 10-day fast, but it's good to start, you've got to start slow. You don't want to jump in and do a 10-day fast for someone that hasn't done it before.
Absolutely. Practice definitely makes perfect. And like I said, I actually did practice dry fasting. And if you do an extended one for as long as I have, definitely have somebody who, one, knows about dry fasting, two, that supports you, and also make sure that someone is actually looking out in your best interest when it comes to medical conditions like skin tinting. Is the back of your hand still showing signs of hydration, reoccurring lightheadedness, and then also kidney pain? You definitely want to make sure you pay attention to all the little warning signs. A lot of people may get lost in their ego and say, no, I'm set for 5 days. I'm going to do for 5 days. And they actually push themselves too far. But for me, I didn't have a number. I mean, like usually if I do like a 2 or 3 day fast, that will be my number because it's a short fast and you really don't require a whole lot of preparation, if you will. But for a 7 day or even a 5 or 7 day, I would definitely make sure, one, you are very hydrated. It's suggested to drink a gallon a day for 3 days before you start an extended fast. You definitely want to downregulate I forget what the term is called, but you want to downregulate and get your body ready. You also, what it will help is if you were already on a ketogenic diet, and you already have some ketones in your system, so that way the fast can transition better.
Yes, because when you first get into keto, it can be challenging.
Yes, especially they call it the keto flu or the keto headache. Once you get that, because once you get that feeling, it prevents you from not wanting to do it, because you're just like, because once your brain switches from glutones to ketones, you're just feeling really lethargic, and usually happens the second and third day, and you're just feeling like, I don't want to go on. I just want to eat some carbs and call it a day.
Yep, absolutely. What else do you do to prepare?
So it's funny. My most successful dry fasts, like my 7, my 8, my 10, the extended ones, I actually never prepared for it. Like I said, when I have a day in mind, like I'm going to do 3 days, I really don't prepare. But for this last 10 day, I really was like, I really need a dry fast. It's been such a long time. And I just dove right in. And I did drink some baking soda. Baking soda, it helps alkalize your blood to keep your pH levels to the point where it's taking all that stress off your kidneys. So I made sure I was alkaline very well. I probably drank a liter of water, and then I started my fast. And, I didn't think I was going to go for 10 days. Honestly, I really didn't think I was going to go for 10 days. I really just wanted to get a good extended fast, maybe 4 days. I don't know, maybe 5. I don't know. I just really didn't have a number. And after the third day, I had the keto flu or the keto headache, and I was just feeling so miserable. And I just told myself, okay, I know I didn't prepare myself and I feel like crap, but let me see how I feel the next day before I just throw in the towel, because I didn't feel like my life was in threat. It was just a headache. It was, I mean, like I could tell that it was just my brain switching to ketones. So, I just kind of, in a way, I pushed myself through it. I powered through, and then the next day the headache alleviated and I felt good by the afternoon. So I was like, wow. And I tell you what, day 4 and day 5, I call those the magic days, because that's when you're just flying high as a kite. And that's when your body really settles into that cellular regeneration and you're feeling really great. And I kind of wanted to ride that wave and stay on it for as long as I could. And it was just more on the fact that, oh my goodness, this is what I can do. I can do this for myself. My willpower exceeds how I feel. I am in total control of my very own happiness, my very own existence. And I think I had I don't want to say it was a spiritual moment, but it was very enlightening on how I felt, what I'm capable of, and who I am as a person, and how I respond to situations. Because, when you're hangry, you can snap at people, but I didn't feel so much like I was, that term hangry. I was more on the lines of my patience was shortened, but that's where you really see your true self. Okay, well, how am I going to react to this? I had the control of being a butthead, or I have the power to being patient. And it's really a struggle with patience and with yourself. Okay, I'm not going to be like this. I don't want people to be miserable because I'm feeling a little bit miserable. So you have to really switch it up and turn it around for yourself. And regardless of what situation that you're in, you have control of how you're going to react to everything. And that for me was that for me ultimately is dry fasting, is to learn about yourself. Each dry fast has always been different for me. I've learned something new with each fast, more myself than, and I know I'm a completely different person than I was 2 years ago. I think I'm more refined, more patient. And I feel more put together, if you will. I have more sense of purpose. I do want to help people with their fibro. I do want to help them find a way, look for solutions. Don't complain and be miserable. There are alternative ways. You just got to ask the right questions.
Fantastic. Now, day to day, what was your activity like? Did you go to work? Were you at home? Did you exercise? What do you do when you're on a dry fast for like 10 days?
So for the 10 days, I actually stayed home. The first couple times I've done it, I'm a single mother of 2 teenage children, and my kids actually visited their father for summer vacation, and I am in between opportunities right now. So I'm at home, and so I stayed at home in air conditioned. I still went out. You'd find this crazy, and a lot of people looked at me like I was crazy. I still went out and enjoyed myself with my friends. I would still go out to dinner with them, because the thing that was important for me is I want people to be comfortable around me while I dry fast. So yes, eat, be merry. I want to be comfortable around you, because food is not the enemy. Food is just a necessity of life. But if you choose to enjoy it around me, well, I want to enjoy you enjoying that. I don't want people to feel like, oh my gosh, she's not eating. I really want people to be comfortable around me. At the same time, I'm comfortable around them. So
Wow, I'm amazed. I'm amazed you went out with your friends for dinner.
yeah. And they would tell them, you will, everyone was like, she's fasting. Don't give her anything. And I'm like, okay, people, take it down a notch. You don't have to tell everybody. So, but yeah, I still went out, and waiters always like, are you sure? Would you like some water? No, that's okay. Don't put it in front of me, because water, towards the end made me want more water. And even though it was the thirst, I'll tell you, it really got to me. And I have to say that when I woke up on day 10, I was like, no, this is it. I can't do another day. I'm going to have to drink some water. I feel like I'm ready. I'm ready to stop this fast. And I just knew I was ready. I couldn't say, yeah, I think I could do one more day.
Okay, so do you do you bathe or shower while you dry fast? Do you avoid that as well?
No, I did. So there's two types of groups that dry fast. There's a hard dry fast, and then there's a soft dry fast. A dry fast, the hard dry fast, people actually remove themselves from any type of water. They don't shower. They don't brush their teeth. They don't even wash dishes. If they're near a lake, they actually will go to a very dry location, because your skin is your largest organ, and it can soak up even the moisture in the air. So for them, they feel a hard dry fast. That's what it is, a true dry fast. But for the common people like me and you who have daily lives, I still showered. I still brushed my teeth. I still washed dishes. I just didn't consume. To me, dry fasting is the absence of consuming food or consuming water. So that to me was a dry fast. And that's what I did. I still showered. I didn't, a lot of people would recommend to swish your mouth with like ice cold water. I couldn't do that because I felt like my integrity was like, I don't know if I could do this, because I'm so tempted to swallow. So I didn't even bother. I didn't even bother to do any swishing, because I just felt like I was too close to being tempted to drink any water. So I think I brushed my teeth more frequently because of that freshness that I had the baking soda toothpaste, and it just was more, for me, it was better than the dryness. So, but yeah, I did.
So, what do you... anything that you need to look out for when you're on the daily fast? Because what I was doing is I was measuring my pH, my urine, and my ketones, my blood sugar, and my blood pressure, things like that. Anything specifically that you measure that you...
The basics, my basics was I checked my ketones every day, but after the third day, it's not going to get any more than what it is going to be. But I would check it only because it's a motivation factor. Yeah, I'm still in ketosis. I did check my blood sugar, because blood sugar is a funny thing, because it can be elevated just based on how hot you are. And for me, I'm the type of person who actually, because of the medication I was on, damaged my sweat glands. I know it sounds strange. So I always kind of checked my blood sugar to make sure it wasn't getting too high, because sometimes it could be high on how hot or stressed I am. But when I was calm, it would go down. I don't know the science behind that, but that's how I noticed. The more stressed and heated I was, my blood sugar would raise. So I always make sure that I stay cool and stress-free. And the other one was my blood pressure. On my video, my blood pressure machine wasn't working, but my blood pressure actually lowered significantly during my fast. And I think the pulse the pulse was around 40, and I think that's pretty low. But I think on the day that I checked it, it might have been a 60. I can't remember, but usually that stayed consistent. That my blood pressure stayed pretty consistent. But those are the only three things. Oh, and then I'm sorry, and my pH levels. And I just get a pH urine strip, and I would check my the pH levels, and mine didn't drop. And I was surprised it didn't drop so low to where it was concerning. It was like a 5.5, and it was actually pretty good for a 10-day. So it wasn't so bad.
Wow. So you only dropped to 5.5 after 10 days of dry fasting.
Yeah. I was actually surprised. And but actually, George, it actually took almost 3 weeks to raise my pH levels back up. So even though it drops, it took 3 weeks. I would have to say it took 3 full weeks. Because I stayed keto since my dry fast, and I'm actually still on keto. Just intermittent fasting and eating a ketogenic diet. It actually took 7 weeks, or 3 weeks to get it raised back up to a 7.5.
Wow. So, how often would you dry fast per year?
Well, my goal is to dry fast for an extended, like 5 or more, at least three or 4 times a year. That is my ultimate goal, but I haven't, like I said, it had been a year since I did my last extended dry fast.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, and like I said, it's just like clean house. You could do it twice a year. A lot of people are really intense in the dry fasting, and they do it once a month. But I think it's all about listening to your body and what works for you. I mean, like I also like to live as well. There's going to be a day where I just want to eat a pizza and have a cold beer with my friends. And then, maybe 2 days later, I'll throw in a 3-day dry fast. And because carbs can make you feel really terrible. And if you get in this rut, and it's funny because I think this last year I was telling myself, well, I'll just fast. But then life gets in the way and I'm like, I'm not fasting. And then finally it got to the point where the aches and pains were actually settling in because I started to gain a little bit more weight slowly. And I was like, I really need to get back into this fast because I want to take care of myself. This inflammation, even though the herbs keep everything at bay, it's the dry fasting and the interstellar blends and the intermittent fasting, all those, just a combination of things. If you just work it into your schedule, it's just life-changing. Now,
tell me a bit more about interstellar blends.
Now, the interstellar blends, I'm going to start with the one that I really love, and it is the Trinity. Trinity has like 170 different herbs, I believe, and Gavin McGowan actually took the time to put these blends together on how they work together. You can get all these herbs like reishi and gynostemma and epimedium. You could get them, but he put them together in a smart way. And they actually truly activate your superpowers, because that's his logo. It's activate your superpowers, but it's your body lacks all these minerals, and you could lose them in a dry fast, and you could lose them by just eating unhealthy. Even clean people, even vegans, when they eat clean, your body misses out on all these nutrients. And these superfoods and these super blends actually replenish everything that's wrong, and it helps with longevity, if you will. I haven't seen anything like it in the world, and there's no stimulants. This is your own body healing with these herbs. It helps balance out your hormones. It helps with muscle repair. If you want to work out, and a lot of people get different things from it. Like athletes, they find that they are stronger and have more endurance and more stamina. Stay-at-home moms, they find that they just have energy and they're not so inflamed and they're not so tired and they could keep up with their kids. My mother, who is 60, who has arthritis, she just the inflammation just went away, and she didn't change her diet or anything. And it's funny because she just called me before you and I got on and said, honey, why are you dry fasting? She doesn't understand about dry fasting. I don't want you to go on this crazy diet. And I'm like, it's not a crazy diet. It's healing. These blends actually give you that state that dry fasting gives you, but without all that hard work of dry fasting, if you will. And Trinity actually helps you put you in this frame of mind that, hey, everything's going to be okay. Life is good. You have a lot of clarity, your vision, everything seems brighter. And it's just a marvelous thing. And you do that with the fast. I tell you what, when I broke my fast, my 10-day, that is what I drank, was the Trinity. And even I watched my own video, and I noticed that I really lit up. And that's just with the blend. And all my life source was just like, it was dormant for 10 days. And then all of a sudden it was like awakening, if you will. And I saw myself kind of transform. And I thought, I was like, wow, those herbs are just, they are awesome. There's nothing like it. I mean, like, to get away from my pharmaceutical drugs and start taking these herbs, it's quite an impressive, because I've tried everything before. I have tried Reiki, I've tried just ginseng and stuff like that, but I think it's just the combination of everything that just makes it work.
Wow, this sounds really interesting. So what do? You have them before you dry fast when you finish, or do you have it during? Or?
Yeah, the Trinity itself, that's my go-to blend. And Gavin has like this blend called the Nebula, and that one was actually what I started. It's a 200-to-1 concentration of 28 different herbs. And the Nebula actually is the one that helped me with my inflammation. And the Trinity, to me, it's great with fasting because it still keeps you in that mind frame of how fasting puts you. But I just put like a little teaspoon of it in my coffee or my tea, and I drink it once every day. And then obviously I had some before I ended my fast. And then while I fasted, I didn't drink it, of course. And then when I broke my fast, that was one of the first things I drank, along with some electrolytes to help with my pH levels and baking soda. But that was the second thing I drank, and it was just amazing. It was just, there's nothing like it. A lot of, you know what, it's like the orgasm of the brain, if you will.
Wow, sounds pretty exciting. I need to check this stuff out, definitely. I'm always looking for new subs that can do amazing things, and I'm into longevity, which I love.
Absolutely. Yeah. And Gavin, he's really into longevity. And the story behind the herbs is that he's in a band, and they were out in 2012 just touring around on this psychedelic bus, and they were just playing a lot of back-to-back music, and it was wearing them down, and they didn't want to get hooked on drugs or on energy drinks or anything like that. So Gavin really researched on what made Bruce Lee so strong. How does he do it? And he was into longevity herbs. So he started researching these blends, and he says, well, I wonder what happens if I just put them all together. You know, they have the great qualities, and he looked at the three treasures. A lot of these herbs are part of the three treasures, and he really put them together, and it was a matter of finding the right concentration. And then he took it for himself. And then he goes, asked him about what he's drinking and making him look so young and vibrant. And at first it was just, here, try some. And then people wanted to buy it. And then that's how it escalated for him. And it's just a word of mouth. And I find it fascinating that it was just these herbs that really changed my life, especially with fibromyalgia. And then not only that, to add in dry fasting, like to take back your own life. I mean, like, you have control of everything. You don't have this doctor telling you, you need to take these medications when, okay, what are my alternatives? And if I don't like the alternatives, I will go find another answer until I find the right one. And it's not so much that you don't want to go into like, is this the wrong information? No, this was since 2009. This was like 6 years of actually looking and researching, and for myself anyway. And then meeting Gavin and finding about these herbs. It's like, this is what I've been looking for. And in a way, and it wasn't. It just happened by chance. But when you say I've tried everything, you haven't really. I say that too. You haven't. I've tried everything. Oh no, you haven't. If you haven't tried these herbs, you haven't.
Well, and have you noticed a difference in your inflammation markers or your symptoms since you've been dry fasting and doing all this sort of stuff?
Absolutely. You know, I was in the Air Force and I served in the military for 20 years, and I worked literally Monday through Friday only to sleep on the weekends. And that's how I survived, especially the later years of my military career. And when I retired, as we get older, it was progressively getting worse. And I mean, like, I always try to stay ahead of my fibromyalgia. And I would, one day it just caught up to me and I had to call in sick. I never called in sick to work. And, you know, with dry fasting, to keep that inflammation, you really have more control of how the inflammation is. I mean, like, the swelling goes down and you're more mobile and your mind is not in this crazy fog brain. There's definitely a significant difference. I notice if I'm intermittent fasting, for me to only eat one meal a day and staying keto, for me, it's the key. Especially when it comes to when I hang out with my friends for like a weekend and we're all out eating breakfast, lunch, and dinner, I feel crappy. and I start having edema where I'm like swollen in my ankles and my knees and my fingers, and there's definitely a significant difference. Totally.
Yeah. So yes, I've gotten into intermittent fasting myself over the last 10 years, and I'd probably, out of 21 meals a week, I'd probably eat about 10. So usually dinner and 1 or 2 lunches or breakfasts during the week. And I find that really works well for me. And I think that the more often you fast, the less hungry you become anyway.
Yes, exactly. I find that to be true.
But I find it's hard to be social when you fast a lot, because, you know, it's a little bit antisocial. That's the only challenge that I have sometimes, I suppose, because, you know, I'll go out and catch up with some friends and they'll order all this food and I'm not eating, you know, I've a bit of, you know, and they're like, why aren't you eating? You know what I mean? And it's almost like people think that you've got a superiority complex, but I don't. It's just, you know, I just want to be disciplined, you know what I mean? But people don't like it sometimes, you know.
It does make them uncomfortable because it's, to them, it's not natural. And because there's a difference between being normal of how society deems us to be, and then there's what's natural. And people confuse the normalcy with natural. So to them, it's not normal.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. Now, I'm really into the 80-20 rule. I like to get the maximum benefit out of something. And in regards to dry fasting, I'm wondering how many days would be the least amount of days to make the maximum change or improvement in myself. So I'm trying to work out a schedule. I was thinking, what do I do? Do I do one a month for 3 days, or one a month, once every 2 months for 5 days? Or what are your thoughts on this?
I think it's based, like I said, it's everyone is different. I actually, like I said, I would fast like on a Tuesday or Thursday. I think if you do at least 1 3-day fast once a month, I think it just resets yourself on a cellular level. If you're not maintaining, then just 1 3-day fast, like on a good weekend. Start on a Monday to Sunday, or I'm sorry, Friday to Sunday, or Saturday to Monday, whatever is the least busiest for you. To me, I think 3 days is a great round number. That's where your body really changes or resets itself on a cellular level. Is 3 good dry fast days.
Yeah, I find 3 days is quite achievable. It's not that hard. And
Yes.
and I quite enjoy dry fasting, actually. It's good. I have a lot of extra time because you don't have to.
It's
I have
really
a lot of
good for
extra
you.
time.
Yeah.
You don't have to go. Eating takes time.
It does. And the cooking, and actually it saves you money.
Yeah, well, there you go. I can save time and money. Just don't eat.
Exactly. And I know being with your friends can be a challenge. But, at my workplace where I used to work, I actually talked about dry fasting so much, people would come up to me during lunch hour and say, "Are you fasting today?"
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So I
Funny.
like I said, my goal was to get people comfortable around me and know what I do. And I'm like, actually, I am, but I'll be happy to go hang out with you if you need someone to go along. Yeah, sure. So, like I said, I think that was my mission about fasting, was to really throw myself in with the wolves, if you will, with food and not make it a negative thing. It wasn't like I can't have that, because that can't is negative. But if you put I choose not to have that because I'm going through this process, then that becomes a more positive thing.
Absolutely. Totally.
Yeah. So that was really my mindset on the whole fast. It was just a lot of negativity really comes at you in a fast, and it can, especially when you go on for 4 or 5 days, and or actually, it actually hit 6 and 7. Days 6 and 7 is when you have that negativity going in, and then you're just like, I got to turn this around for myself because I don't want to be miserable in this fast. I really want to enjoy it. So. But I think the grumpiness kind of sets in, and your body is like, okay, are we going to eat? Actually, are we going to drink something? Because you had that choice to drink, but you're choosing not to. And it's funny how to see how your body is reacting to everything else. Everything is agreeing except for my thirst level. Everything is great except for that. So,
is there any benefit in doing because I do intermittent fasting, but I'll have myself like a bowl of coffee during the day. So my intermittent fasting is not a dry fast, it's a wet fast. For example, because I normally eat dinner at 7, I've got a sort of like a 3-hour window where I eat between 7 and 9, 2-hour window where I eat. So I'm trying to reduce my feeding time because there's a lot of research on that, reducing inflammation, making you live longer, and lots of benefits out of that. Now, but during the day, I do still have my bulletproof coffee, which is, I suppose, a liquid. Would there be benefit in just having no liquids at all, or not really, for just 24 hours?
Well, actually, I don't... See, I take my blends in the morning when I intermittent fast. I kind of don't consider that so much as breaking my fast, because I'm really... I probably put milk in there, a whipping cream, if you will. So it does have some calories, but it's a fat. So I'm saying keto.
That's very different. Yep.
Yeah. So I'm saying keto, and coffee is actually good for you. Despite what people say, 2 or 3 cups, especially if you like to drink alcohol. But I just take 1 glass of coffee.
Okay. Yes, I've heard that. So coffee protects you from alcohol. I heard about some guy that used to drink like 20 cups of coffee a day.
Oh, that's
and apparently it saved him from losing his liver from drinking lots of alcohol as well, which is amazing. So coffee is amazing how it saves your liver from alcohol stuff.
Yeah, it does. It really is. Yeah, so I drink a coffee in the morning, and when I intermittent fast like that, if it's hot outside, I'm going to drink water. But I don't drink. I only drink if I'm really thirsty, or I'm working out and I'm starting to work out. But even when I work out, I haven't really gotten so thirsty to where I feel like I need to hydrate. But if I do, I drink. It's water restricted, no more than 16 ounces. I don't do like a heavy workout. I just like walk on the treadmill, and then maybe some rowing. I love rowing because it works everything. Yeah, I don't really drink a lot during the day. If it's just my coffee, if I work out, maybe no more than 16 ounces, unless it's really hot outside. Like I say, I stay very cool. And then in the evenings is when I eat. And I do the same thing in my 2-hour window between about 7 and 9. Around to 9 o'clock is when I do a little feeding window.
Cool. Wow, how fascinating. Yeah, I find the 7 to 9 window is awesome because I don't like going to bed with an empty stomach, but I'm happy to spend the whole day with no food because I find food slows me down.
Exactly. But you sleep better when you eat a little bit before you go to bed.
Absolutely. I used to always feel bad for not having breakfast because, everyone says breakfast is the most important meal of the day. And I'm thinking, God, I don't even feel like breakfast. But I used to force it on myself because I knew it was supposed to be good for you. And now I discovered, no, it's not good for you. After all those years of brainwashing,
Well, actually, George, do you know who actually it started off with Kellogg's? Kellogg's, it was a marketing campaign that said, breakfast is good for you. And hence that is why we eat cereal in the morning. It's all a marketing campaign. No one really ate breakfast until Kellogg's said, eat our cereal. It's good for you. It's the great way to start the day.
Kellogg's has got a lot to answer for, giving people carbs and corn and making them eat breakfast.
And
making them
sugar, yeah.
Eat breakfast.
Yeah, I think I read that somewhere where it actually started with Kellogg's.
But it's interesting because Kellogg's was trying to make people healthy, wasn't he?
Yeah, and and I think I think along the way, things, especially with, I'm not one for conspiracy theories or anything like that, but there is a conspiracy with sugar. It is in everything, and it's written, and it says, and it's how sugar is in a product, especially when you process food. They write sugar in 5 different ways in a product, and you're getting so much more sugar than what our families used to get 20 years ago. And sugar actually...
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, it's in your brain. You're addicted to it, and your brain is telling you need it and you want more of it. And we're actually eating tons of more sugar than what we used to back when our parents were younger.
Absolutely. I try to stay away from processed foods, and like when I go to a supermarket, the only place I go is where the vegetables and the meat is, you know what I mean? And a few other little things, because 70% of everything in the supermarket's either sugar or corn anyway.
Yes. Yeah.
And called sugar, so it's the same thing, I suppose.
Yeah, it's just written differently. They just say it differently.
Christine, it's been great. It's been great chatting to you. I really appreciate you coming on our show and sharing your experiences with people, because I wanted people to know and learn from someone that actually has done it themselves, because I think people talking from real life experience are the people that can really teach us something.
Yes.
And you being the Wonder Woman of fasting, 10 days of dry fasting, that's pretty amazing, It's very impressive.
Thank you so much.
And I think if anyone wants to try dry fast, they need to start really slow. They need to talk to the medical practitioner and all that other stuff, because obviously, we're not doctors. And I thought I'd just mention that.
Yeah, exactly. And I did start my video. I am not a doctor or can answer any medical conditions, but I'm just a normal, average person who just practices dry fasting. Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, now, if people are interested in interstellar blends, what we'll do is we'll put a link on the show notes so people click on that link and check them all out, because I think that's a great idea. I'm actually going to check them out myself too. I can't wait.
Oh, and he also has a lot of information on dry fasting. He does a blog on dry fasting itself, because that's how this all started.
Well, I think I've found you on his group.
Yes,
with the dry
I'm in
fasting
the group as well.
His knowledge on dry fasting is amazing. It's fantastic. And there's just so many studies that just show the benefits in so many different ways of limiting the amount you eat. And like when it comes to longevity studies, the only thing that actually works so far is calorie restriction. Nothing else works.
Oh, Absolutely. And he believes in scientific backup. So he's taken the time to show everybody and share, this is the scientific proof on why it's so good for you. And that's what I appreciate about Gavin. And he did all the work for us, and you just have to take the time to read it if you want to know what your body is going through during a dry fast. But some people, just like myself, just kind of dive in and and just, okay, this works for me.
Fantastic. Well, thank you for that. You enjoy your day, and we'll talk soon.
Yes, thank you, George, so much. I appreciate your time.
For everyone listening, thank you once again. Stay well, and see you next episode.
For awesome info and trending content, go to theuglytruth.log.